The purpose of this Corning training video is to demonstrate the installation of the FuseLite MTP compatible splice-on connector on ribbon fiber. Please remember to follow all proper safety procedures when working with fiber optic cables. Tools that are going to be needed for this procedure are the lint-free wipes, 9% or better isopropyl alcohol, black ink pen, and the MPO-12-FUSC fiber holder. Next piece of equipment is the fusion splicer. This is the OptiSplice ribbon fusion splicer. Be sure that you've acquired all the proper handlers in order to perform all operations. The splicer also comes equipped with the FBC-012 fiber cleaver and the OptiSplice TS thermal stripper. And now we'll cover the features of the MTP FuseLite connector. The Corning MTP compatible FuseLite connector comes packaged in a blister pack such as this. I've already removed all the components so I can explain them individually. The ferrule subassembly comes with the factory cleaved ribbon. You have a dust cap antenna which will be removed at the end of the process, heat shrink sleeve, your outer housing, the spring, as well as the rear housing with integrated boot. So let's begin with inserting the ribbon through the rear of the rear housing and boot assembly. Slide it out of the way. Now insert the ribbon through the spring. And again, slide it out of the way. And then finally, insert the ribbon through the heat shrink sleeve. The next step will be to make a mark at 30 millimeters, which I've already done from the end of the ribbon. And now I'll install the ribbon in the handler. Make sure that your mark is even with the end of the handler and close the lid. Our next step will be to insert in the thermal stripper and strip the coating off the fibers. This is the OptiSplice TS thermal stripper. The unique design is the trigger mechanism, which will extend the slide. This is the on button, your battery power levels, heat settings, and then when you first turn the stripper on, you'll have a red light, and once it's up to operating temperature, this light will turn green. So let me demonstrate how we load our handler. First, you want to put it in the slide portion. Make sure that the end of the ribbon is within the green zone. So first you will lock the handler into place and then close the thermal lid. Wait a few seconds, wait for the light to turn green, steady green, and simply squeeze the trigger, and we've removed the matrix and fiber coating off of the fibers. So now I'll remove the handler from the stripper. Simply press the latch and remove the handler with all 12 fibers. So once you've removed the handler from the stripper, set it to the side, slide the portion of the stripper back in place, close it, and then open up the thermal side and remove the material that we just took from the fibers and discard. Be sure to close the thermal lid in order to preserve heat and battery power. So the next step is to clean the fibers, again with 90% isopropyl alcohol. You want to be certain that the alcohol does dry in the fibers. After cleaning the fibers, ensure that all the fibers are nice and parallel to each other. This ensures a proper cleave. So next we'll load the handler into the FBC-012 fiber cleaver. Make sure that the handler is firmly seated. Simply lower the clamps. Go through the entire motion process, and before releasing the clamps, be sure that you grab the scrap fibers and dispose of them accordingly. Be sure to inspect the cleave and make sure that all the fibers are the same length. Now we'll install the handler in the OptiSplice ribbon. Be careful not to make contact with the tips of the fibers against any foreign objects. And insert the handler into the machine and inspect the fibers lying in the V-grooves. Make sure that they're all nice and parallel. This is the MPO-12- fiber handler. This is designed for the ribbon ferrule subassembly. So I'll install the subassembly in the handler at this point. One thing to point out is to be certain that you have your fiber color polarity established based on the ribbon that's already installed in the machine. So I'll load the subassembly, close the lid, and now I'll load it in the machine. Once again, make sure that you protect the fiber tips and do not come in contact with any foreign objects. Inspect the fibers, ensure that they are in the V-grooves accordingly. Next, let's pick the proper software. Now that our splice is complete, we're going to transition the fiber into the heat shrink oven. So release the clamp on the filled fiber. Carefully release the clamp on your subassembly. Ensure that you keep tension on the fibers at all times. Let the heat shrink sleeve slide down over the splice point and transition up to the heat shrink oven. Make sure that the splice sleeve is centered and close the lid. When you hear the audible alert, open the lid and the clamps of the heat shrink oven. The heat shrink sleeve will still be hot, so wait a moment before final assembly. Now we're ready for final assembly. Slide the spring up over the heat shrink sleeve. Slide the rear housing and boot assembly up into place as well. Now remove the protective cap and discard from the ferrule. Notice the small window on the ferrule. That will need to align with the key on the outer housing. So insert the ferrule through the outer housing and press the two pieces together. Now that I have the two halves of the housing together, last step is to put the dust cap over the end of the ferrule, and now we have the Corning FuseLite MTP compatible connector. That's it. If you have any questions or recommendations for videos, call us or send us an email at cablesystems@corning.com. Remember, Corning Cable Systems recommends getting properly trained in fiber optic installation. We offer a series of training classes. Thank you.